everyone, and welcome back. Let's get right to the point. It's resolution season, and everyone is making plans and goals for the year. And most of these plans fall off. There's obviously a lot of reasons for why that is, but for the most part, it comes down to poor planning. They set goals, but then they don't set up realistic, sustainable plans to carry those goals out. And thus, lose motivation. Usually within a month. Everyone gets a gym membership at the start of January, and by February they forget it exists. It happens. But I've had a few years to work on and figure out ways to make meeting my goals easier and more consistent. Because I'm a workaholic, and I live off goals and planning. Anyways, so I figured it's a new year, it's a new channel, I might as well start out by going over how I do my goal planning. And it's a bit of an undertaking, and it's a super involved process, but I've spent a lot of time over the years researching project management stuff. I'm absolutely addicted to to-do lists. And everything from articles to apps to websites. And the thing that I've noticed with a lot of it is that all of it focuses on the more business style of project management. A lot of team building and meetings and other people, which is obviously their target audience. But if you're creative and you need something to manage your projects, especially if you do a lot of them like I do, it helps to have something like these websites and whatnot to make it easier and more concise to do it, and thus makes you more likely to actually finish things. So, I look at a lot of these apps and sites from Monday.com to Trello to Splendu, looking for the best ways to manage life in general. But a lot of these sites, like I said, focus on the team aspect of it. And so a lot of creatives look at it and they're like, well, anything you just said applies to me. So, I'm not working with a team, it's just me. So I guess this isn't the site for me. But then, you go looking for something else and there's nothing. Nothing specific. The thing is a lot of these sites that they look at initially can in fact work, it's just a matter of setting up correctly. And so, what I wanted to do is go over my goals for the year, for the channel and the several dozens of projects I'm always working on, and make a video about how I do it. Obviously, these are specific to me, and I'm a workaholic who hates free time. But I think there's something in here for everyone, especially creatives, to help manage projects in ways other articles and websites don't really go into. It's a matter of how you set things up in a lot of cases. So, let's get to that. Okay. So, Trello. Trello is where I start. It's not the only one that I use, but it's where I always start. Which, shout out to a friend of mine who showed it to me. I didn't find Trello on my own, and they shared it to the group, and I looked at it and I'm like, this is useful. So I took their setup, and I've been building off of it for about 4 or 5 years now, in combination with everything else. So, if by the end of this you're like, what the hell? How did you come up with this shit? This is complicated bullshit. It's not. I promise you. It's not as complicated as it looks. I've just had a lot of time to work through different tactics to finally reach what I have going on. It started out with a weekly goal on one board, and I built it out from there. So, because before this, I had a hard time organizing anything. So I needed something concise and specific to keep me on track with things. And so Trello is a lot of that. And yes, there's a lot to it, but I found over the years that taking the time at the beginning of the year and the beginning of each month to set up everything will save you time and a lot of energy in the long run. Spend a couple days at the start of the year to figure everything out, and then lay the groundwork so you have a general idea of what you want to do on the grand scale, and then come back and rework everything down into specifics at the start of every month. Spend the extra time in the beginning so you don't have to spend it repeatedly every day. So, like I said, I've spent a lot of time reworking my systems to make them work, which is why I feel comfortable sharing it now, because I've kind of found a groove that works, and I think it'll be helpful for people to help, figure out and plan their own goals. Because, like I said, it's that time of year. And it'd be nice if more people actually reach their goals. Also, side note, obviously I'm not sponsored by anything that you mentioned in this video. I literally just started this channel. I'm not going to be getting sponsorships. But this is just what I use personally and have used for years now. And it just works for me. I've tested a lot of different sites and apps, especially apps, and these are the ones that have stuck with the longest. So, first things first is to set up big overarching goals that you want to get done by the end of the year. These are what I call an overview. What I want to do, what I want to get done this year. And the big thing is to focus on things that you can directly control and focus on hard set numbers. But don't rely on things that involve other people. So, for example, for this YouTube thing, don't set your goals like, I want to be at 100 subscribers by this point. You don't know what's going to happen with other people. You can't control whether people subscribe or not. It's not something you should focus on. Instead, you should focus on, as you see here, I want to upload X amount of videos, or I want to do X amount of streams, things that you have control over. Another thing is to not be vague about these goals. You want something you can determine for sure whether or not you reached it. For example, a lot of people want to get in better shape every year. Well, what is better shape? It's something that you can always be wishy-washy on whether you actually achieved it or not. So you want something that's hard and fast that you can in fact say you've achieved. So instead of get in better shape, set it to something like do 50 push-ups by December. It's pretty obvious if you can do 50 push-ups or not. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And another thing about these goals is, in terms of being realistic, don't be surprised if you don't reach all of them. I literally never do. A year is a long time. Shit happens. Goals change. Life changes. Sometimes you start the year being like, well, I want to do this. And then, halfway through you haven't worked on it and you kind of realize, oh, I guess I didn't really want to do this thing after all. And that's fine. Expect and accept change. It happens. But at the same time, a lot of times goals falls off is because you didn't break them down properly and didn't set deadlines. Something even I'm still guilty of, which I've incorporated some changes to the second step of this process to help with. I've been vague. I didn't set up specific numbers. I didn't set deadlines. Specificity is key. Have a visualization of what you want to do by the end of the year, and it'll be easier to achieve. Write it down. Figure it out. Don't just say, well, I want to do this, and then do nothing about that. If you aren't achieving an output you're happy with on a regular basis, figure out why and make a change. And that's kind of what I want to help with, is figuring out how to change that. Consider this a guideline to work off. Obviously, you don't have to do it exactly how I do, but, if you've been wanting to achieve more and just don't know how, this is what this video is for. Work off of this. And change it how you need. But a lot of it comes down to writing it down and breaking it down into steps, which I'll be showing you how to do, or rather how I do it. So here's how I set up my goal board. I have an entire Trello board dedicated to yearly goals specifically. which consist of long and short-term goals, lists that I add to and reorganize regularly across time. It doesn't, I don't do that on specific days. It's just as I kind of realize that I want to do this thing, that's where I'll add it. And then if I eventually realize, oh, well, I don't really want to do this thing after all, get rid of it. Don't hang on to things that you don't really want. And then I also have a year-specific list, usually with just the overview card at the start, but sometimes if I have one of my long or short-term goals seems feasible for that year, I'll move it over to that year-specific list. As you can see, being a solid part of a community, which I'm hoping is this VTuber thing. I've already found a couple Discords that I really like, and so I intend to stick around and make that work. And then obviously my push-ups. And then I have a goal progress list, which I update at the end of every month with everything that I accomplished that month. So I just have a comprehensive list of everything I've done. It helps to be able to look back and say, like, wow, I actually accomplished a lot more than I thought I did. Or you can look back and say, oh, well, I didn't get that much done this month, so maybe I need to change how I did that thing. Or you can look back and be like, oh, well, I accomplished more this month than I did this month, so what was different between the 2 months? Sometimes it's something you did, sometimes it's just shit that happens. Figure it out. But this helps you to figure it out what the difference was. So, at the start, you want to your focus is going to be your overview. This is where you set up what specifically you want to accomplish this year. So, as you can see here, I break mine down into 3 separate checklists. Main focus, which is usually writing for me, and I've obviously added the YouTube stuff to it this year. But it's the stuff that you absolutely 100% want to get done. No distractions. Just like, that is your main priority to get done this year. Nothing else matters but those things. Well, obviously other things matter, but, so they're your high priority items that come above everything else. So for me, I want to read 3 books, which I know that's a low number, especially for a writer, but it takes me a long time to read things because I can't focus for the life of me. But even that I've broken down into smaller increments. Instead of trying to read a chapter every night, I've broken it down to 2 pages. Even I can read 2 pages in a night. And so I might not be making big, huge, massive steps towards that, but it keeps me reading more regularly. Because a lot of times I'll get distracted and everything else is more interesting, a lot of times I will read 3 whole pages and have absolutely no idea what I just read. And I'll have to go back and reread it, and then I'm bored. And I'm like, well, fuck this, I'm out. So, I like to set my goals a little bit smaller so that they're more attainable. And obviously, if you do more, then that's great. But you want to make it realistic for you. Even if it isn't, what everyone else is doing, these are your goals. Figure them out for you. So there's that. And then I have my Sin Stories, which is part of the big novel series that I'm working on. I've only managed to finish 1 out of the 7, and so this year, after having this goal on my list for 2 years now, I've broken them down more, which, like I said about the vague, you'll see how I reworked that for this year, and hopefully I'll get that done now. 90 videos or live streams for the YouTube thing. Like I said, don't go towards subscriber count or what have you or whatnot. Focus on what you can directly control. So my plan is to have 90 videos on the channel by the end of the year, which is approximately about 2 videos a week. So that's what you can probably expect for the channel. And then 5 collaborations. I know what I just said, but this one's a reach goal. It's good to have a couple of those, 1 or 2 of those things that's like, well, this probably won't happen, but it'd be nice if it did. I'm gonna strive towards it, but I'm going to not be disappointed if I don't necessarily reach that one. But I am going to strive to do at least 5 collaborations with other YouTubers throughout the year. Be it video games or, I don't know, podcasts, I don't know, whatever. Just something with other YouTubers. So, those are my main focuses for this year. Second, you'll have your hobbies. Your secondary priorities. Things you either want to finish up or get more into, but aren't your main priorities. This is always art for me. Art's always been more of a hobby than a main focus for me. So, I want to finish my Python class because, god damn it, this class has been torturing me. I'm working on a visual novel. It's a dating sim. And so I want to have that done and out to beta testers by the end of the year. I started it at the end of last year, and I've made a good amount of progress for it, but I want to absolutely have that finished by the end of the year this year. So, that's that. 45 speed paints and sculpts for the channel, so half my videos will be art related, the other half will, be gaming or talking or, stuff like this, what have you and whatnot. But my goal is to have at least half my videos be art related. Obviously I started this channel with the goal of doing fashion items for 3D avatars, so obviously this is going to be part of my goals. And yeah, so those are my hobbies. And then lastly, I always add a lifestyle for general health stuff. This is just going to be your daily priority kind of stuff. For me, I always shoot for about 12 hours, which is approximately 720 minutes of exercise a month. And then this year, I want to shoot for being able to do 50 push-ups by December. And you'll see how I break even that down later. But this is where you'll put like your weight loss, your meditation, your water drinking, etc., stuff like that. And again, hard numbers, but attainable ones. Make them realistic. So, I don't want to get in better shape. I want to lose specifically 15 pounds, at least. Because, 2020. We all put on a little bit of weight in 2020. Time to get it back off. So yeah, set your goals realistically, but keep in mind that life fluctuates a lot. If you do more, great. If you reach it, great. If you don't, whatever. Time is a construct. If you don't reach it this year, do it next year. But that's how you can break things down. And this is where Trello really shines best, because you can have a variety of checklists and cards and boards that are all color-coded with links and images and deadlines, and there's all sorts of plugins, or not necessarily plugins, but there's bits and bobs to it, and they're all super helpful, so just kind of experiment with it. And it's free, obviously. There are premium options, but the free version is just as versatile as you'll likely ever need, especially if you're working on your own. I break things down as much as possible into separate boards to keep it better organized. Too much information at once kind of breaks my brain, so being able to separate everything is useful to keep me on track. That said, Trello was recently bought out by another company that is very much the big businessy, team-based kind of junk. And I only found this out after recording, after, putting together the first part of this. So this is new information to me. But they've apparently removed the ability to just make personal boards and now demand everything be on a team, which, I literally started out this video ranting about, so that's kind of fucking bullshit. But for now, at least, it still works the same. It's just, it limits the boards to a degree. But you can still have 10 boards per team, and they're like, well, they even in their... We're not gonna rant. But I'm kind of wary of where it's going because of that, because if there's one universal truth, it's that corporations ruin everything. But that's a rant for another time. For now, Trello is a great help and website, and it's got a website and an app, so you can keep things rolling at all times, and it's versatile, it's helpful, and for the most part, it's fairly unlimited. And more importantly, it's free. And everything you see on this list will be free, because I'm cheap. I don't spend money when I don't have to. It's one of the biggest reasons I'm a jack of all trades, is so that I could just do shit myself. Everything from writing, art, coding, music. If I can do it myself, I'm gonna. So accessibility is important to me. It removes excuses. But this is how I set up my yearly goals. In the next video, we'll take those big year-size numbers and break them down into month-size numbers. There will be 4 videos, I realized, in this series. I originally intended to make this one, but it turns out there's a lot to this, and that would be a really long video. So, I'm cutting it down. But I'm cutting it, so it'll be 4 videos in this series, going all the way from year down to month, to weekly, and then finally to daily, to best optimize your plans for success. And I hope this can be as much help to you as it has been for me over the years, because this really has helped me figure things out and get a lot done. So, see you in the next video! Bye!